Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Shreveport, Louisiana, in addition to everyone. We've certainly had a great weekend. We're excited to be here this morning to call the order of the Southern University Board of Supervisors committee meetings. We're going to ask that we start with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation is going to be brought to us by our very own colleague, Mr. Sam Gilliard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could we please come to prayer? God of power, God of might, God of tender mercy and compassion, we come before you, thanking you for life. Thank you, God, for being. Thank you for the gift of your Son, Jesus. Know that we need salvation. Thank you for Holy Spirit, Paraclete. Don't want to be comfortless. Come in prayer too again, asking you to consecrate our minds so that we would think the thoughts that you have us think, that you would touch our speech, speak the words that you would have us speak, that you would touch our hearts, feel how you would have us feel. We ask a blessing on this group, and we pray to traveling grace on those. Please ask all of these blessings in thy Son, Jesus.
Amen. Thank you very much. And next that we speak into the mic, I forgot to remind everyone. They're working very well. We just got to speak directly into them. Thank you. And the Pledge of Allegiance. Tell us who you are.
I am Cadet Captain Jalen Burks.
Okay. Thank you, Cadet. Will you lead us in the pledge? And we have a flag. Yeah. Just our hearts and pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you very much. This time we'll go into special presentations. Check presentation, Chef Karasoff. Another young man. It's over Karasoff. I see another young man getting up and look like he could be bearing a check with that young lady. But this time we'll turn it over to the Care South.
Mr. Chairman, Board, President Shield, on behalf of Care South Healthcare Center, we are here to present a check for $25,000 to Southern University Freeport for their allied health and nursing.
Isn't that great? That is wonderful. Isn't that nice? I tell you what, let me see who you're presenting that to. You can bring it up here if you care to. You turn around, everybody could see it. Oh, okay. We'll do some pictures after that. Isn't that nice? Absolutely. Go ahead.
While you guys are taking that picture, I just like to say that's Darren Dixon, a colleague and classmate of mine. And Here South has been a huge supporter of Southern University athletics, and we truly appreciate you all's commitment to. Thank you so much. I think last year, well over $400,000 was given to Southern University system by Care South at a pinning ceremony for my wife as she became a practitioner. Mr. Valier, who's the CEO of Care South, started writing checks for individuals who got degrees or awards that he didn't know about. So he's truly committed to us, and Darren, we appreciate you coming out and sharing. Thank you so much.
I concur. Care South has been a very, very good friend of Southern University, and thank you for that, Mr. Vice Chair. He knows personally the work that they do, which is invaluable throughout the state of Louisiana. So we certainly appreciate them and everything they do. Okay. Next, we'll have a check presentation by Capital One.
Morning. I'm
Morning.
Cheryl Taylor, Director of Advanced Southern University. And we have Miss Lydia Jackson that's going to do a check presentation from Capital 2-1.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, President. Capital One has enjoyed a long and productive relationship with Southern University Shreveport, and we are really excited to continue that relationship with this investment in the Chancellor's new signature program, a mentorship for young women. I listened last night for many words that described our new Chancellor, but the one that stuck with me was vision. Vision is an act of the brain, not a physical act,
Right.
but a vision lingers, a vision persists. And the Chancellor's vision will be embodied and carried on by the investment that she makes in these elite ladies that I was proud to meet and sit behind last night and today. So Chancellor Gant, on behalf of the Capital One family, we present this check to you, the initial support for your initial signature effort. Thank you.
Isn't that nice? We don't come to Shreveport often enough, all these checks flowing through here. We certainly recognize these wonderful young ladies, too. What a great program. Stay on. I got it. All right, let's give them a round of applause. Next is item number C, Polysonography Technology Program by Carlton Wiggins, Program Director. I'm sorry.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank y'all for having me this morning. I come before you as the program director of the polysonography program, and I'm curious, has anyone ever heard of this word before now?
Yes.
You've been through one
Because
of
y'all
them.
had to vote on it, right? So this is the sleep technology program based out of Southern University here in Shreveport. We are in our third year of inception here. And so this program is a hybrid program meant to train sleep technologists in the state of Louisiana. We are one of only 2 in the state, also accredited. There's only 30 nationwide. So Southern University System has the honor of having this program based out of Southern University Shreveport. This program is an associate's degree level. We formatted it as a hybrid where we do have in person, but we also have online to ensure as many students as possible can go through the program. We have partnered with several different employers, so I just want to give you some numbers here. First, we have an articulation agreement with NSU with their Bachelor's of Applied Science and Allied Health program. We have grown from just 1 full-time faculty to now we have 2 full-time faculty, 2 adjuncts, and 1 medical director with a combined experience of over 100 years. We have 3 primary grants, Title III Perkins, and thankfully the LDH grant. We have 5 separate appointments of our faculty that serve on state and national committees involved in sleep and respiratory therapy education. And we have 15 clinical partnerships that go from Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, Alabama, and Illinois. In addition to this, we are working in the workforce to be the center or be a partner with anything related to sleep technology. And this year, the Southern University Shreveport campus has the honor of hosting the Louisiana Academy of Sleep Medicine annual meeting at our Metro campus. This is the first time this meeting has ever come to Northwest Louisiana, and we have that honor of hosting them. 100 people come to this, healthcare professionals from doctors, nurses, RTs, sleep techs. Around 10 to 15 employers, vendors will be on site, and it offers continuing education to all in attendance. Since our start in 2021, we graduated our first class We started in 2022 with our class, but graduated first one in 2023. We have had, since that time, over 100 points of contact. We have jumped our recruitment from our initial graduation of 4 students to now we have 12 that are in our class, with an additional start time coming in the fall of this year. And I just wanted to end with saying thank you all for believing in us, and I want to give honor to Dr. Gant and my dean, Ms. Brown, for bringing me on board, and I'm thankful to be a part of the Southern University system.
Mr. Wiggins, do we have a sleep lab, or where the students being trained on the campus?
Yes, I'm sorry, we do. So when we started, we built a 3-bed training lab at the Metro campus. And part of our future projects is we're trying to get that accredited, where we can actually do low or no cost studies in partnership with possibly All of Us Research to ensure we get more sleep data on all that are represented there.
Another question to the room. How many of you are familiar with sleep apnea? One of the most undiagnosed, undertreated conditions in our country. So thank you for what you're doing. It's a big deal to make an impact on a lot of folks' lives.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Excellent curriculum too to immersion too. So kudos to everyone involved. That's we're excited about that. Before we go into item number D, I want to recognize a young lady. And Mr. President, if you get up and walk towards the lady that looks like Dr. Ammons in Dr. Ammons' seat. I didn't mean to insult you, Dr. Bree Cook. But if you would stand up, Dr. Chancellor Pierre, walk towards the Chancellor. And I'm going to ask a young lady to stand up so you all can go shake her hand. Her name is Madison Stevens. Madison, will you stand up and y'all bring her over and shake her hand? I'm going to tell you about Madison Stevens. Her mother called me. She grew up in Alexandria. She lives in Shreveport now. And she said her daughter was thinking about going to Southern. I said, well, tell her to stop thinking. She needs to come to Southern. So she said, well, tell me why she should come to Southern. I had Dr. Renee on the phone first. Go over there, Dr. Renee, and meet in this group. And so the next thing I noticed, all the chancellors actually can stand up for this one because she's going to matriculate. So I said, this is your point of contact, Dr. Renee, if you have any concerns or anything. Then I said, tell you what I'm going to do. If you're looking at any one of the campuses, we have campuses. I said, but if you like Baton Rouge, I'm going to call the Chancellor of Baton Rouge. Got the Chancellor of Baton Rouge on the call. How unusual is that, right? He spoke a little while. Then I said, hold on just a moment. I called the president and got the president of the system on the phone. And he answered the phone. And we started talking and talking and talking. Why would we spend so much time with this student? Because we needed to, and we will spend time with other students as well. But this is the beginning of something that's going to happen. We're going to get on the phone and we're going to practice what we preach. We're going to be actively involved in the recruiting business. Madison, just a brief summary. She's enrolled as a senior in science and engineering program at Captain Shreve. She serves as the captain of the Lady Gator volleyball team and is a member of the track team. She has taken both dual enrollment and advanced placement courses. And I'm going to jump through a lot of things she's done. Of course, 200 hours service hours volunteering with organization. She's a member of the Antioch Baptist Church, where she serves as assistant secretary and participates in the young adult choir youth department. Here's the things that you don't see very often because we don't talk about them very often. She currently has a 4.75 GPA, 28 on the ACT test. And she will be attending Southern University with a major in biology and future plans of becoming a physical therapist. Where's Dr. Oswald DeVerne? He didn't make it, tell him he missed a future student that we'll be seeing, but let's give her a round of applause. And I didn't stutter. That's a 4.75. So we're very, very proud to have you in the fall, Madison. And her father, Daryl's here. Come on up, Daryl. Daryl and I have known each other and just kind of getting acquainted. But let's give him a round of applause and take some pictures here. And this is worthy of taking our time. as we transition to the next item. You had that in a matter of 4 years, Tony? Cumulative.
7.5. I can't get over that number.
Thank you so much. Let's give another round of applause and welcome Southern University System. I also told you if you can call any other university in the country and get the chair of the board, the president, and the chancellor, go ahead and go to that university. So we're gonna be very, very active. Item number D is a very, very exciting item as well. Caddo Parish School Board. I think we have the superintendent in the audience. I know we have the vice president of the board. She's no stranger to Southern University. Our colleague at one time, Miss Dottie Joe Bell, my dear friend.
He's walking in. Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello there.
Okay, he's walking in right now. You know, since I'm his boss, I don't know. He's walking in right this minute. And since I'm the vice president, I was hoping at home. But the president couldn't make it, so I'm here. And that's right, he's coming in because he want to keep his job. He coming in, come on, superintendent.
That has not changed. That's always the first question when she's in front of the mic. What are you doing, superintendent?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming in. Perfect timing.
Thank you so much. My name is Lamar Gorey, and I have the absolute pleasure of serving as superintendent of Caddo.
You hadn't even made the presentation. You're dropping the mic. Okay.
For your flight.
Right. Okay, let's try that again. Thank you so much. And again, my name is Lamar Gorey, and I have the absolute pleasure of serving as superintendent of Caddo Parish Public Schools. Thank you to Board Member Bell for standing in my absence as I transition from one meeting to the other. But I do stand here today extremely excited about a partnership that we have entered into with the SUSLA campus here in Shreveport. And I think before I speak to the partnership, I do want to just publicly thank the Southern system as well as Dr. Gant, of course, and our relationship over the last few years from a dual enrollment perspective. Southern has probably for the last 5 years been our leading provider in dual enrollment opportunities for our children. And I think even more importantly to that, we've seen an impressive increasing number of students that are graduating with associate degrees and even several students graduating with 2 associate degrees, many of them matriculating at your Baton Rouge campus after completing that. So through that relationship, we know for a fact that the sky is the limit with what we can do with providing opportunities for children. In very early conversations with Dr. Gant, though, the conversation's been about how do we make sure that we're providing opportunities for the children that are in that community and the many students in our parish that look just like those students and are experiencing similar life situations. The conversation's about how do we make sure that we are providing the workforce opportunity for people in our community, whether we're looking at those high wage technical skills or that middle space in between having a high school diploma, some college, but not a bachelor's. How do we make sure that we have adequate opportunities for children in that space to see success, as well as other people in our community? And that's where the idea came about for the Newton Smith Center for Workforce Solutions. Now, one thing I'll tell you for sure is that Caddo Parish Schools is very rich in property, and we're also at the same time trying to make sure that as we look at schools that are offline, or even as we look at right size in our district, how do we do meaningful things for the community with those properties? And this was a perfect example of that. You know, when you look at this school, it's about 33,000 square feet, and the school was donated in the 60s. In fact, it was built in 1960 by the Newton Smith family. And Mr. Smith's goal at that time was for it to always be used for educational purposes. That's something that we take very seriously. And really, as we looked at what would be the future of that building, we were hoping and hoping that something like this would come about. So when you look at what we're going to do on this land and the opportunities that we will provide for students to develop those skills to go on and to be productive citizens in our community, we're very excited, and we do hope that and commit Caddo Parish Public Schools and School Board to continuing to work toward this partnership, and hope that we will continue to get that same support from the Southern system as Dr. Gant brings this vision to reality. Thank you.
Any questions? Let's give him a round of applause. Please stay up there because I want you to introduce you to a wonderful young lady that's going to take a picture with you.
Okay.
And Superintendent Goree is all over the place, and I always see him when I come to Shreveport. He's a good friend of Southern University, so thank you
Absolutely.
again. I want you to meet Allison, Madison. Madison, will you stand up and come shake your superintendent's hand? She has a 4.75. She's coming to Southern. So you send her some money if you have some scholarships over there. She's at Captain Shreve. That's right. So I want another young man to come up, and I want you to say hello to him. And you and the chancellor and Madison will take a picture in Shreveport. And he was instrumental, and he told me how significant this was. And I want him to come and say hello to us. Let's say hello to our previous president, Dr. Ray Belton. Come on up, Ray. Right. We're glad to have him. Also, previous chancellor of Shreveport campus. Come on, let's show him some love. It's our president, y'all.
This guy, you know, when I had the opportunity, Dr. Gann and I have very similar stories in that I was born, raised, educated in Caddo Parish, was away for 24 years and had the opportunity in 2013 to come home and lead the school system. And Ray Belton was one of the first conversations I've had. And, you know, Ray, if you think about it, we really grew this conversation around dual enrollment, because at that time, remember, in our schools, our Southern was very underrepresented with dual enrollment, and Ray definitely led that effort in the beginning, and we've just seen Dr. Gann come and just take it to the next level. So really excited to see my friend Ray Belton. Good.
Dr. Belton, come say hello to us. That's it. You want to say hello, Ray? You're exchanging pleasantries this morning.
We miss you, Mr. Belton.
Come on in.
Well, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. President, good morning to you all. I had not envisioned coming before you. I continue to remind people that I'm retired and I don't do this stuff anymore. But it is indeed a pleasure to be afforded this opportunity, certainly to witness the investiture of Chancellor Gantt was had a special place in my heart on last evening. Several people have asked me what I've been doing, and I've shared with them that I've been enjoying life.
That's good.
Quite frankly. But doing a little consultant work and primarily working with a number of institutions as they pursue their accreditation. And I bring this point up because I want to recognize this board, because a lot of institutions are being challenged in light of the fact that their boards are not assuming their fiduciary responsibility. And I want to say to you that it brings me great comfort in knowing that this board continues to exercise its responsibility in advancing the interests of Southern University system and its respective campuses. I have perused, not monthly, but I typically peruse your agenda and have really been impressed with the great work that is ongoing on the respective campuses, the appointments that appear to singularly and collectively position the university to fulfill its lofty goals, and the individuals who would carry those out. And so, in a word, or words, I just want to say I'm impressed, and I'm confident in knowing that Southern University continues to move the needle and advance for students opportunities beyond their current vision. So, thank you, Mr. Chair, for extending me the opportunity just to say good morning to you all and allow me to again represent that I'm just so proud to be amongst you and with you as you further opportunities for students across this state and across this nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, we'll go directly into item number 3.
If I could just say one thing, I'm so sorry.
Absolutely.
I would be totally remiss if I did not acknowledge, and I know she's been up here speaking, but I will clearly say one of the biggest cheerleaders in the world for Southern University and Caddo Parish School Board member Dottie Bell. And, you know, I often talk about Miss Bell, and, you know, my funny joke about Miss Bell is, you know, she refers to Southern University as the only HBCU in the country. And I'm like, well, Ms. Bell, that's actually just not true. And you know, I'm a Morehouse man. So, but again, at the same time, Ms. Bell has always been a true cheerleader on the school board. And she's left this board and come to the school board. And please know, though, she's still fighting hard for Southern. Thank you.
We see it daily. Thank you, Dad. And guess what? Her roommate still loves her and claims her daily. Miss Maple Gaines. That's right. She can't tell me anything about you, Daddy, so that's nothing but good.
Thank you.
And Miss Smith, that's right. Miss Ann Smith, they are 3 folks that helped bring us through the 70s. That was the late 70s, wasn't it? Hey. Real late, I'm sorry. Maybe early 80s it was so late. Thank you so much. I don't think we need to have any adoption of agenda. That probably could have been omitted along with public comments. This is more of a recognition committee. But item number 6, any other business? If not, motion to adjourn.
So moved, Dr.
Moved by Dr. Whitfield, properly second by Mr. Dr. Tarver. Thank you. We'll go directly into the Academic Affairs Committee and ask that the chair of that committee call it to order, Dr. Leon L. Tarver.
Don't know about that part, but good morning, and thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, we
All right,
roll
now.
call.
Yes, sir. Dr. Leon Tarver II.
Excuse me. I cannot do that. We're going to go back and reconvene. We cannot overlook the above and beyond. Thank you, Board Member Fondell, and Board Member Ann Smith, of course, who's a mastermind behind all of this. I'm going to be quiet and recognize Dr. Gant.
Good morning, Chairman Lawson,
Morning.
President Shields, Vice Chair Whitfield, members of this honorable board. I would like to call Dr. Valoria Nance, Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration, to present Southern University at Shreveport above and beyond recipient. Dr. Nance.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
To the Board of Supervisors, President Shields, Dr. Gant, visiting chancellors, vice chancellors, faculty, staff, students, associates, and guests. Dr. Gant asked me to do this a few days ago. When she did, she asked me, did I know what the Above and Beyond Award was? I was honest and said no. The name in itself is self-defining, but I said, I'll just go look on the website to see if I can find something else. So on the Southern website, this is what I found. The Above and Beyond Award was established to help inspire and motivate Southern University employees to reach their maximum performance. The award honors outstanding achievements in the workplace, exceptional contributions toward efficiency and effectiveness of operations, special efforts in promoting workforce excellence, or outstanding service to the university community and its constituents. Our honoree today has exemplified consistently a cooperative and positive attitude. He has sustained excellence in overall job performance and customer service to fellow employees, as well as students, staff, and visitors during his 24-plus years of employment with Southern University at Shreveport. He goes above and beyond to help other employees needing assistance with their duties. You do not have to ask for help. He just manages to find you and appears. I know quite often I'm at the Metro Center. No matter where I am, he finds me to see if I need assistance. Our honoree takes initiative to ensure every task is performed to the best of his ability. Although assigned to the Metro campus, quite often you will look up and see him on the MLK campus, filling in, helping in whenever is needed. Mr. Rhines is the portrait of a loyal and dedicated, outstanding Southern University employee. He arrives early, leaves late, and takes on extra assignments. Mr. Bobby Rhines works as a master repairer in the facilities Department of Finance Administration Division. He is a native of Shreveport and a man of many hats, not only at Susla, but also at home. He has been a gracious husband and partner to Linda Rhines for 30 years, a supportive father to 5 children. D'Angelo, Danielle, Damone, Anthony, and DeSheria. He is a gentle but firm pawpaw to 8 grandboys who keep his youthful spirit alive. Mr. Bobby Rhines enjoys watching football games, especially his favorite team, the Oakland Raiders. He enjoys playing cards and dominoes with friends and family. Mr. Rhines is also an animal lover. He's quite often chastised by the family for bringing home strays. Being a man of faith, he believes in treating all God's children with love and respect. It is with great honor that we, the Southern University and Shreveport family, present the Above and Beyond Award to Mr. Bobby Rhines.
I'm sorry, God. Thank y'all so much. I'm a little emotional. I know I need to make it short. We all come from somewhere, and Southern has gave me and has saved me. When I came to Southern, my kids were in elementary. I'm gonna make it short, y'all. I promise. And my wife already told me don't go up there like that. I can say that my kids, they're grown now. They were in elementary, and now I have 8 grandkids. And I'm so thankful for that. I made it through what I call I was laughing with somebody 3 weeks ago, and I told them I made it through the being Pugh era. And along with Ray Belton, great chancellor, they gave me an opportunity to be. And I've always tried to do and be the best that I can. I tell you, I'm gonna make it short. Being Pugh one day, now, when I was hired at Southern, it was in 96. Okay. Being Mr. Reed, I want to say thank you to him. But anyway, Mr. Reed was supposed to call me. He didn't call me. I went back and talked to him. He said, we'll call you, son, if something come up. So I found out Mr. Ben Pugh was his boss. And so one day I just decided to come up and I asked Mr. Pugh, could I have an opportunity to work? Of course, he went ahead and he said, don't let me down. And he saw me one day out in the yard and he said, boy, come here, boy. Now, I'm a grown man. I went to him and he said, son, let me tell you something. I don't play. I said, yes, sir, Mr. Pugh. He said, when I was in school, you know, the teacher used to ask me, why aren't you playing with other kids? And he said, teacher, I don't play. He said, son, I appreciate having you. I already see what you're doing. I'm glad we hired you. Don't let me down. And he said, thank you. Years later, after him and Belton went to Baton Rouge, he came back, saw me at the Metro, and he said, Rhines, man, I'm glad to see you. You like to come down to Baton Rouge with me? And I said no. Of course, I love family, and I can't get to my wife and my grandkids and my kids quick enough. When I'm not at work, I'm at home pretty much. Wherever she got me running, my wife. But I want to say thank you, Southern University.
when you don't have a family, sometimes y'all family can be at your job. And this is I thank all of my bosses, and I just appreciate y'all so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you. While they're taking pictures, we're going to proceed on. Where is he? Taking pictures. Okay, we're going to call the Academic Affairs Committee to order. I'm going to ask Dr. Vital if you would do a roll call, please.
Will do. Let's see. Chairman Dr. Leon Tarver II.
Here.
Mr. Sam Gilliam.
Present.
Attorney Tony Clayton. Mrs. Maple Gaines. Mrs. Ann Smith.
Present.
Dr. Orlando Williams. And Mr. Myron K. Lawson. Mr. Chair, you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Item 3 on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion to do so? Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. May we have a second to the motion? Okay, it's been moved by Clayton and seconded by Ms. Gaines that the agenda be adopted. All those in favor, raise on sign of aye. Opposed? Don't have it. Item 4 is public comments. Are there any public comments at this time? Seeing no one, hearing no one, we move on to item 5.
I move pass item 5, A, B, E, and global.
Can we get a second on that?
A second.
Okay. Again, we have a motion by Mr. Clayton, seconded by Ms. Gaines and Ms. Smith. All of those in favor, let it know on the sign of aye. Those opposed? Thank you. We now go to item 6 of the business. Is there any other business at this time? Seeing no other business, we go to item 7, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Moved and seconded. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
Next, committee chair, call the to order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll call the
Good morning, Rutledge.
Athletics Committee to order. As for a roll call.
Athletics. Yes, sir. Attorney Des Moines Rutledge. Here. Dr. Ronnie Whitfield. Here. Attorney Tony Clayton.
Here.
Mr. Raymond Fondell.
Here.
Mr. Paul Matthews. Here. Mrs. Ann Smith.
Present.
Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for the adoption of today's agenda.
Motion.
It's been moved by Mr. Fondell. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any objection to the adoption of today's agenda? Hearing none, the agenda stands adopted. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? We go now to action item 5A, request approval to extend the contract of the athletic director, Roman Banks, SUBR, and the chair recognizes Mr. Fondell.
Thank you. I'd like to make the motion to recognize our athletic director for extension of his contract. As we know, Coach Banks has served in this position since 2015 as an interim and also as the athletic director till today's date. The job that has been done over there, the challenges that we've had to overcome over the last 8 years have been challenged. We've been able to work through those challenges over there, and we still have challenges, but we will continue to be able to work. So I'm going to ask this board, this committee, to extend this contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fondell. Is there a second?
Honored to
Mrs.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Mr. Fondell and seconded by Mrs. Smith. Is there any comments from any other members of the committee?
Ask for
I believe it's being extended for a 3-year term. Any other comments or questions?
I have a comment.
Mr. Clayton.
I want to commend the Chancellor of Baton Rouge campus for making this recommendation. I think Mr. Banks, although we don't always agree, but he's done a yeoman's job as our AD. And as Mr. Fondale said, he's gotten us through some tough times. And thank you, Mr. Belton, for recommending this AD. So with that, that's the only comment I wanted to make.
All right. Seeing no other comments, is there any objection to the adoption of action item 5A? Hearing none, the item stands approved. Go to item 6. Is there any other business? Hearing none, Mr. Matthews moves that we adjourn. We stand adjourned. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Rutledge, we'll go directly into Facilities and Property Committee, and ask that the chair of that committee, Attorney Shorty, call that committee to order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Facilities and Property Committee is called to order. Can I get a roll call, Mr. President?
Yes, sir. Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Present.
Attorney Des Moines Rutledge.
Here.
Mr. Paul Matthews.
Here.
Mrs. Ann Smith.
Present.
Dr. Leon Tarver II.
Here.
Dr. Ronnie Whitfield.
Present.
Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Before I entertain a motion to adopt the agenda, there are a couple of items that I need to add to the agenda at the request of our Facilities and Property Committee Director. Unfortunately, Mr. Dawson, or fortunately, Mr. Dawson had to appear before a committee at the state capitol this morning, so he's unable to be with us. But as much as I dislike having to add things at the last minute, these things came up unexpectedly and are a bit of an emergency nature. At least one of them is a bit of an emergency nature, so we need to move as quickly as possible. So I would like to add to the agenda item 5B, a request approval to supplement funding of Act 959 projects. The projects are for the Public Safety Building, the Outdoor Classroom, the Amphitheater, and Global Innovation Welcome Center. These projects, we're seeking additional federal grant funding. They went somewhat over budget because some of the provisions of Build Back Better require us using only American contractors or suppliers. So this item is already on the Board of Regents' agenda, and it is just pending approval of our board so that they can seek the additional federal funding. It doesn't cost us anything, so that would be item 5B. 5C would be an item to request approval to move forward with due diligence and preliminary planning on the Gateway project, which you all were briefed on yesterday. And 5D would be a request for authority to develop a SIMS management team appointed by the president and approved by the chairman of the board. This also deals with the Gateway project that we were briefed on yesterday. Item 5C or D do not cost the university any money. Those are just studies. Can I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we add those items as stated.
Moved by Mr. Rutledge, seconded by Dr. Tarver. All in favor? I need a roll call on that one. Can I get a roll call, Mr. Secretary?
Absolutely. Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Aye.
Attorney Des Moines Rutledge.
Yes.
Mr. Paul Matthews.
Yes.
Mrs. Ann Smith.
Yes.
Dr. Leon Tarver.
Yes.
Dr. Ronnie Whitfield.
Yes.
Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Yes.
It carries unanimously.
Thank you, sir. The amended agenda is adopted. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, we will go on to action item 5A. Request approval of a servitude agreement between Baton Rouge Waterworks Company and Southern University. This is the ability to put in a water line down Mills Avenue to provide redundancies to the campus water supply. Can I get an approval?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Rutledge, second by Dr. Whitfield. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? 5A is carried. Now we go to items.
Mr. Chairman, I would move adoption of items B, C, D, and is there an E as well?
No, sir, there was not.
Okay. And would yield if there are any necessary presentations to be made on.
We have a motion to approve 5B, C, and D. Can I get a second?
Second, Dr. Whitfield.
Second by Dr. Whitfield. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those action items are approved. Relative to our informational item, our facilities update, again, Mr. Dawson is in Baton Rouge. I would suggest that we would move that to next month's meeting, pending Mr. Dawson's appearance.
Mr. Chairman, I would also request, just like in future facility update presentations, as the Global Gateway project progresses, that he include that in. It's very interesting, and it seems like it can be very impactful. And I would ask that we would include that in future presentations.
Yes, sir. I'll make sure it's done.
Thank you.
Any other business? Any other business for the Facilities and Property Committee? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Rutledge, seconded by Dr. Whitfield. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Chairman Shorty. We'll go directly into the Finance Committee now and ask that the Vice Chair of that committee, in the absence of our chair, take charge of the committee. Vice Chair Ann Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're called to order. Roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Ann Smith.
Here.
Dr. Orlando Williams. Mr. Sam Gilliam.
Here.
Mrs. Christy Reeves.
Here.
Attorney Des Moines Rutledge.
Here.
Dr. Leon Tarver II.
Here.
Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Adoption of agenda. Can I get a motion? It's been moved and second. Any discussions or corrections? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. No public comments. We'll move to the action item. At your seat, you will see a handout, and it is addressing the action item that we have. Dr. Carl Walton, are you present? Okay, would you like to make a comment on it?
Good morning to the honorable board members, chair, vice chair, Mr. President.
Good morning.
As you see, we are seeking a nominal increase in the housing rate for the 24-25 year. It's been more than 10 years since there has been any increase in the housing fee here at the Baton Rouge campus. And so we are challenged to keep up with the expectations of our students for what we're able to provide to them, as well as to maintain the infrastructure that we have on the campus, as expenses have risen significantly over those years. So it is in that space that we're requesting this increase. Now, I did provide, my director did provide comparative information from other similar other institutions in Louisiana, as well as similarly situated institutions around the country, other HBCUs that would be our peers. And then you'll notice that we requested a 5% increase, which is still much less than still keeps us at a lower price point than many of the other places that are our peer group. But we are hoping that we're able to get this approved so that we can continue to provide the high level of service that we like to provide to our students.
Thank you.
Question.
I recognize Dr. Tarver.
That 5% is effective when?
We would like for it to be effective for fall 24.
Mr. Fundale.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Walton,
Yes.
I'm very appreciative for you presenting the information to compare it. It appears that our housing, compared to the other universities, is a value to our students.
It is absolutely a value.
Okay.
And a recruitment point to that point. I've spoken to a couple of people as they're going out recruiting, they're able to say, but we can house you for a lower price point. So yes, absolutely.
All right. So I'm very appreciative that you provided that information to us here at the board also. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other? Okay, Chancellor Pierre.
Yes. Good morning.
Morning.
Mrs. Smith and members of the board. And I want to thank Dr. Walton for bringing this point to the board. But I also want to say that in order for us to compete from a housing perspective, this is going to have to be done probably on an annual basis over time. Because we're probably 20 to 25% lower than everybody else. And we cannot do the maintenance and provide the quality that we will want to provide to those students at the prices. It's extremely important that we think about housing as a top priority for Southern University and A&M College, the Baton Rouge landmass. Housing is a critical need, and we have to think about this more comprehensively, and pricing is a very big part. And I thank Dr. Walton for bringing that out to our attention, that this is something we got to do.
Thank you, Chancellor. Any other comments?
Madam Chair.
Discussion?
Madam Chair.
I recognize you, sir.
Please. Question, Dr. Walton.
Yes.
These costs too, they are included too in financial aid costs for instruction budgets?
They would become a part of that. Yes. I mean, are you saying that would they be covered by financial aid? Yes.
Basically, that's
Yes.
the question I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Then,
sir.
Madam Chair, I move for approval.
Okay. It has been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Let it be known by aye. Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Informational items, we have none. Yes, we do. Mr. McClinton, I recognize you at this time.
Thank you. Good morning. The interim financial statements are in your packet and also provided a narrative explaining where we are. I can go through them, or if you have any questions, I can answer those questions at this time.
Any discussions or any questions for Mr. McClinton at this time?
I have a question.
I recognize you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm hearing talk that there's an $8.1 million potential fiscal cliff facing us, I guess, before January of next year. Is there any truth to that?
Yes, it is. For next year's budget, the reduction is really $9 million. It's supplemental, basically, supplemental funding that we received this year. When the executive budget was submitted, it was submitted with they cut out all the supplemental funding, which really has an impact on all the campuses, more on the SUNO campus than the other campuses, but it did affect all campuses. We are in the process. In fact, I've worked with every campus, and we are preparing, and Mr. Lawson and I and Dr. Williams have talked about it. We're having a budget hearing. I've asked each campus to provide me with preliminary budget projections to show what the impact is having on each campus and what adjustments that will have to be made. Also, we are actually interacting, the president and the board and everyone else is interacting with the legislative body to try to get an increase so that we can bring in some additional funding for that. But I think it's important that we look at the impact just in case we do not receive those monies. In most cases, the dollars were not, they were considered as, they were not considered one-time money. Yeah. The New Orleans campus has received those dollars probably for the last 4 or 5 years. And to give you also an example, the Ag Center, when I talked with them, they said it was not, they used those dollars on one-time expenditures. We had it at the system level, but it's for the bridge program. But anyway, it did affect all campuses, but it's $9 million, Mr.
So if it's $9 million, make this make sense to me. I'm looking at what's about to come up under the Personnel Committee, and this administration is giving raises and bringing in $100,000 jobs. It appears to me that's going to make your job a nightmare. And if we face a $9 million in the not so distant future, why in the world are we doing this? Well, let's withdraw that question. It's not for you. I'll ask the president at the appropriate time.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton. Any other comments? I recognize Mr. Fundell.
Yeah, Mr. McClinton, one of the questions I have with regards to what was just brought up, is that based on everything remaining the same? Is that at a fixed number?
Right. Well, no.
I guess what I'm saying is it based on our enrollment. It's based on the number of students that we're going to have, the deficit that's perceived. If we were to increase our enrollment, would that help to offset that deficit? I guess that's one of the questions I'm asking.
Yes, it would help to offset the deficit. One of the other things I like to mention, though, is that as of this point, we are not, the formula, and I mentioned it to you all yesterday, the formula is not being used next year, which means normally we get additional dollars from the formula, but the formula is not being used. Therefore, we will not receive any additional dollars from the formula unless something changed between now and the end of the session.
Madam Chair, you just sparked another question for me. May I be recognized?
Sure, I recognize Mr. Clayton.
Chancellor, do we normally increase enrollment in the spring? I'm sorry? Do we normally have an increase in enrollment in the spring?
No, because we
Thank you.
have.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Chair.
I recognize Mr. Gillum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. McClinton, for clarification's sake, so the supplemental funding that you referred to, that is not going to be recurring. That's one time, right? Well, for everybody except SUNO.
No, I'm saying to you right now, the supplemental funding is not recurring for anyone at this point.
Inclusive of SUNO.
Right.
Okay.
But, and I'm sure that, the president has been working on it very diligently with the legislature. In fact, almost every day.
Sure.
President, I can yield to you and if you want to add some comments on that.
Mr. President.
Yes, the governor's budget flat funded all of higher education, so it's not just Southern. And also the funding formula is not being used this year. It is a moving target, and it is going to be a challenge if it stays where it is right now. With regard to the SUNO funding, both myself and Chancellor Ammons have pretty aggressively asserted that the $3 million they've been getting annually needs to be in place. I think Attorney Shorty and others from the New Orleans area, the elected officials, members of the legislature know that money is critical to SUNO. Can't guarantee that it's going to be in place, and we're going to have to be prepared to make some significant moves if it remains the same. The conversations with the senior leaders in the administration have indicated that, to me, that if we can get the money put into, get the legislature to put the money in place, at least one-time money, that the administration wouldn't object to it. So there's reason for cautious optimism that the worst case scenario won't arrive.
One other thing, Fundell, your question was about the increase in student revenue. Yes, if we can get an increase in student revenue, that will help to, to reduce the amount of money that we would have for that year. Increase the amount of money we'll have for next year. So if we can get our enrollment up, it would help some. I'm not saying of the total amount, but it would, contribute to it.
My question would be, do we normally get an increase in enrollment in the spring semester?
Well, let me say this, the spring, the enrollment is for the fall, spring, and summer of next year. The spring of this year, whatever we have is basically over.
Yeah.
So whatever we are doing this semester, that will not have an impact on next year because we are talking about the budget being cut next year. And if we do get an increase for fall or spring next year, it will affect the budget and would assist in problems that we have.
Madam Chairman.
Wait, just a moment. I recognize Mr. Fundell.
Yeah, and Mr. McClinton, the reason why I brought it up because I know that enrollment and retention is important. And if we're able to, working along with our deans, our chancellors to work to increase our retention rate, that in essence helps us. We know that in the past, we've had retention rates in around 60%, and I think it's gotten as high as 68% at certain campuses. So I'm saying with the combined work of this board, combined work of our chancellors, our alums, and also our students to help us, to help them so that they're in a position to stay in school longer. That helps us to keep from having to make the projected challenges that we're going to be facing. So I think it's a combined effort from all of us here, and I should hope that we all serve as ambassadors to make sure that we are constantly recruiting students, making sure that people are in place to address the concerns when those students fall. Right. As many do. We need to make sure we have counselors in place that are going to be there to help them, to lift them up, because many of them flunk out before the midterms. And I know we've talked about certain things and funded what is called Grades First here that helps us to monitor students' grades. So those are tools that are in place that I believe can help us to face the challenges that we may foresee in the future. Thank you.
Okay, I have
Madam Chair.
I have 3 other comments. The president will comment next, then Dr. Torver, then our Chair Lawson will comment, and then you'll come. Thank you.
So I'd make a couple of observations. Mr. McClinton and I had a real serious conversation about this just a few days ago. As we do our budget planning for the coming year, and we're going to be ready to make a presentation in a few weeks to the board, he and I are in the same space, I believe, in that we need to put realistic numbers in front of you. Mm-hmm. I am not inclined to project that enrollment will be growing, because that means in September and October, if you don't hit those enrollment targets, you're already in trouble. We agree that we should be using this past year's enrollment as baseline, and that should be what's used. Now, what that means is that you have to project flat enrollment for the fall and the spring and the coming summer. If you beat those numbers, it's a great problem to have because you have more resources. If you hit the numbers, which I think are realistic to hit, then we're in good shape. If you don't hit them, then the problem persists. But if you project that it's going to be higher and then you don't hit what this year's is, you've doubled what the problem is. So we will ask the campuses to make realistic projections on enrollment for both the fall and the spring and the summer. Fall 24, spring 25, and summer, and use that to base the budget projections.
Thank you, Dr. Torva.
Yes, I'd like to follow up on that. It seems to me that among all things to be considered is a change in our strategies for increasing those numbers, so that whatever strategies we have in place to reach the benchmark numbers that we have, we're going to have to come up with a larger projection, but we're also going to have to put together strategies for recruitment that will allow that to happen. Secondly, it also means we have to make a stronger effort at retaining our students. And so strategies by campus in that light is also going to have to take place. You put those two things together and we may have a greater opportunity to try to get closer to that number, Mr. President.
Okay, Mr. Lawson, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. I don't want to send any false hopes out there to anybody. We're not going to recruit enough students between now and that hit. We got to be realistic about that. A $9 million hit to this system is going to be devastating, particularly to New Orleans campus that really should get $3 to $5 million in appropriations every year. It would be a devastating impact on this system. I'm not going to be Pollyannish about it, and we'll be able to recruit enough students. So we need to be real about that. So in the process of being real, we have to talk with our legislators. All of our legislators, the role that we play in the state of Louisiana, we're going to be challenged in playing that role, quite frankly. So it's incumbent upon us to talk to every one of our legislators. Dr. Merrick's office is putting out documents of the bills that are concerning to us. I do mean it's concerning. That bill is going to be devastating if it happens, and they need to know that. So what we can do, and we ought to do it with a sense of urgency, is make sure we touch every legislator in our respective congressional districts to let them know of the impact. So enrollment is a noble goal, and we should be certainly addressing it. Retention is as important. So we talked about that yesterday, but let's make sure we stay in concert with the reality, which is we can be on a $9 million cliff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gillum?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to follow up the line of questioning that I started. That was, well, first of all, Mr. McClinton, I believe it was February board meeting. Your office asked for, and I think we approved, a spending freeze of non-essential spending. We'd like to know, of course, because we got to get out of this FY first, this fiscal year first. I'd like you to speak, not right now, but to that before we finish up here today to see how that's going to go. And the other thing too, of course, Mr. Lawson, Chairman Lawson has hit it right on the head. If indeed we're talking about an $8 or $9 million shortfall, as espoused by Attorney Clayton over here, it's unrealistic and practical that we're going to generate enough FTEs to reach that level in the next 2 or 3 years. In fact, that's going to be a heavy lift. Well, it's possible, but it's impractical that would happen, as we suggested. So, of course, we need to look to some outside sources for that. Do I have the answer? I don't think any of us do. Mr. Lawson suggested the fact that, and of course, the reality is that looking to the legislature at this point, well, I leave it to my president and the chair. See how that goes. But first, if you would just address right quickly the freeze and what's our effect in the current fiscal year. We're going to get out of it.
Okay. For the current.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
For the current fiscal year.
Wait, maybe if you can hold that question. I have 2 other comments, and you might be able to answer all of those.
Okay. No problem.
Okay. At this time, we'll take Mrs. Gaines, and then we'll have Mr. Clayton, and then we will have you. Okay. Thank you.
I want to thank Chancellor on yesterday. An in-depth.
If you kind of pull your mic a little closer. Thank you.
Okay. I want to thank Chancellor Pierre for letting all of us know yesterday the impact of the FAFSA delays. And I know I was part of a webinar at Chancellor Pierre's invitation, and many other HBCUs were in attendance. And it seems that their concern, along with our concern, was how the FAFSA delays were going to affect enrollment and how hard it was going to be to project or do a budget without those numbers. So I would like Chancellor Pierre to elaborate and let us know if he thinks that the FAFSA delays will have, how much of an impact will it have on our enrollment for this coming semester.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Gaines. So, ladies and gentlemen of the board, I have been, over the last several weeks, sounding the alarm about the FAFSA situation. I probably have inundated you with information, and you're going to say, what's wrong with him? Why don't he go to bed and sleep at night? Well, this is one thing that'll keep you awake. We have made progress. In fact, I just got a text from the Thurgood Marshall College Fund because they're having another meeting with the Department of Education. Dr. Anthony Jackson has been working feverishly along with Ms. Davis to make sure that we are starting that process of getting financial aid packaged. So to give you a perspective, we have about incoming freshmen have admitted about 4,300 incoming freshmen. We've packaged about 2,100 financial aid awards. We're way behind because the federal government did not do the job that it needed to do with the new FAFSA process. All right, so that means we're gonna have to do in 3 months what we would have done in 9 months. Do I think we're gonna get there? Yes, because this is a top priority each and every day, and we're making progress. I don't think it's feasible for us to expect a higher number than we had this past fall. But it is possible, but it just may not be probable. And the reason is when you delay financial aid awards, you make it difficult for people to decide to go to college. You make it difficult for you to compete with others who have bigger endowments, who can put together financial aid packets without worrying about whether or not they're going to be wrong or right. Now, we made some progress. What we call the verification rate is almost zero, which means that we can process faster. We also have an issue with returning students, and we've had the faculty senate, deans, and chancellors send out notices in every classroom. We're going to talk to students, fill out your FAFSA. The reason that's important is because traditionally our students always filled out those FAFSAs late. So you add lateness, you add the federal government debacle, you have what Mr. McClinton talked about, 9, and he's saying 9, I'm going to say it could be 10 million, to be honest. I mean, that's what I think. So we got those multiple challenges. So that requires us to really focus on those kinds of things. Despite those challenges, I'm very hopeful that we can get there because we are doing the work on the ground and we're coordinating across the system a lot better than we have before with SUSLA and SUNO with respect to financial aid, because this is the number one issue that we face, especially among HBCUs across the country. And for those of you who remember, this could be as catastrophic as 2011 with the Parent Plus debacle.
Wow.
Okay.
Just one more comment. So basically what you're saying, the work that you all are doing in financial aid, your office and all the concerted efforts, this may not hit us as bad as it could be.
Yes, it could, it may not, and that's our number one priority. We are laser focused on that because of the other challenges we have. And if you look forward, going forward, you know, remember Governor John Bel Edwards had that tax that probably will phase out. And so the cliff is real.
Mm-hmm. I have one more comment, and this is a follow-up, and I would like it presented to the board possibly at some time. This is a recurring problem with our returning students filling out FAFSA forms timely. And I'd like to see what type of effort that we could put forth to at least get these returning students who are already on our campus. What can we do to get them to fill those FAFSA forms out timely so that more of your energy can go towards the incoming students?
Well, what we're doing over the next few weeks is classrooms. We're actually organizing events in several locations in the residential housing. Now, I will say this. Had the financial aid debacle not occurred, we would not have the problem with the returning students. We would only be dealing with the incoming students. So that you almost have what we call the perfect storm.
Okay, well, the reason I say that is because I'm also on the FAFSA board, and it seems that this is a problem with other universities where the students that are already in school tend to take their time and not fill out these forms, which adds to the issue. And I was just wondering if there was anything concerted that we could do maybe to impact this problem. But thank you, and I know that we're going to move on here. Thank you.
Thank you. In the meantime, I'm going to recognize Attorney Clayton, but if we have any mathematicians right here at the moment, the question is, how many new recruit students will we need to make up that deficit? System-wise. Okay, I'm just asking in the meantime. Now I'm going to recognize Attorney Clayton.
6 years and don't lose it.
I didn't pass algebra, so I'm not a mathematician. But let me say this to the group collectively. The next 45 days is important to Southern's, how we deal with this cliff. 3 things may and probably would happen. One, the governor is trying to pass a bill that would allow family members with kids in private schools to use their vouchers to offset their tuition, which Colorado just did 3 years ago, and it added $500 million to their deficit. I want you to take that, park that, and put on the side. He's just increased and rolled back a bunch of the criminal laws, which means the budget for the housing prisoners is going to increase a couple of $100 million. Now, I'll say that to say this. If the Constitutional Convention does not take place, I'm not saying I'm a supporter of it, then the only way to cut the budget, Mr. Chancellor, is healthcare and education. Higher education. So we have to think analytically and say, wait a minute, and we need to meet with our president, meet with our chancellor, if they want us to, and all of us sit down, do exactly what that chairman just said. Let's call Senator Katrina Jackson. Let's all sit down and say, how do we play gymnastics with this to get around it? Because I think it's going to be pretty bad, but I think we can get ahead of it. And I just think we need to bring all of us together, and enough of Tony with all his negativity, but I'm willing to get in and put some skin in the game. I don't know what I can add to the equation, but I'm ready, Mr. President, because I see it coming, but I think we can play with this. We can manage this, but it's real watching the next 45 days. He will pass that voucher bill, and that will wreak havoc. And if we don't do that, Constitution Convention, he's looking at us to make these cuts.
Absolutely. Thank you. Now I'm going to recognize Mr. Fundale.
Great conversation today. I believe it's going to take all that we're talking about, legislators, students, alums, a lot of folks. It's all got to work together for us to attack it. And a strategy is what we need. My question, and this is my last question, Mr. McClinton, how many students system-wide, through retention, recruitment, through all of those, would be needed to sustain this $9 to $10 million deficit based on numbers that you've given, based on your experience? How many students would we need as a team need to fill that gap?
It's not an easy calculate.
I would need to get that information for you.
Retention rate.
And the reason I'm asking is, at prior board meetings, we've said when we had 100 to 200 students, that represented $1 million worth of additional income. Are those numbers still pretty consistent?
Well, it depends on the campus. You have different fees for every campus. I would have to go through and do an analysis and calculate it, because it would be campus by campus.
But there is
with the amount.
But there is a number, correct?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's why I asked that question. I know probably you could not answer it immediately. Do we have any other comments? No other comments? Thank you for the discussion. And we will move forward now. Any other business? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry.
My question is still, say something.
Right.
The February freeze review, money, how is that progressing in the current fiscal year? We're going to get out of that unscathed.
That's the challenge.
Right. I can't hear his question.
Okay, I'm going to get in the mic. I'm sorry. I was asking the question of Dr. Tarr. At the February board meeting, I believe, that was we approved, I believe, a spending freeze on non-essential expenditures. I'm just asking the question, how are we progressing in getting out of the current fiscal year? Are we going to get out of that unscathed, or to what extent?
Right. Based on the interim financial reports that we have, all campuses are projecting that they will be able to close this fiscal year with a balanced budget. Also, there were two campuses that did implement a spending freeze. I know Baton Rouge implemented a spending freeze, and I had talked with the CFO at New Orleans, and she had talked about a spending freeze. But based on the information that I have and the financial reports that I have, they will be able to balance this fiscal year, close with a balanced budget.
Thank you, Mr. McClinton. Any other comments or questions from the board? No other comments, no other questions? Any other business? If not, can I get a motion to adjourn? It has been moved and seconded. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair Lady, for standing in. We'll go directly into the next committee, Legal Affairs Committee. Next, the chair of that committee, Attorney Clayton, take charge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. President, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Attorney Tony Clayton.
Here.
Attorney Des Moines Rutledge.
Here.
Mrs. Maple Gaines.
Here.
Mrs. Christy Reeves.
Here.
Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Here.
Mr. Jaron Young.
Here.
Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Present.
We have quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. I see Mr. Jaron Young and second by Mr. Shorty. Any opposition to adopting the agenda as it is? Hearing no opposition, motion passed. Any public comments with anything germane to this agenda? Seeing no one come up, I'll now move to action item 5A. What's your pleasure, members?
Move to approve action item 5A.
In global? Yes.
Yes.
Second? Second by Ms. Christie. All in favor?
Aye.
Move to other business. Any other business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Move and proper second. The Legal Affairs Committee is over, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
It's over.
Attorney Clayton. We're going directly into the Personnel Affairs Committee. Ask the chair of that committee, Board Member Gilliam, take charge of this committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Personnel Affairs Committee is hereby called to order. Mr. President, please give us a roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Sam Gilliam.
Present.
Mrs. Christy Reeves.
Here.
Attorney Tony Clayton.
Here.
Mrs. Zell Dudley.
Here.
Dr. Leon Tarver II.
Here.
Dr. Orlando Williams. Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. We now move to the item number 3, adoption of the agenda. And committee members, what is your pleasure?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second from Ms. Zell that the agenda for the Personnel Affairs Committee would be adopted. Those in favor, please let it be known by saying of aye. Opposers, nay. Hearing none, the agenda is thus adopted. We do have public comments. I have a card from, it appears, Attorney Tracy Washington from the Southern University Law Center. Would you please move forward and come to the podium? Thank you, Counselor, for joining us today. Pleasure to have you.
Don't know where I'm looking.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, that's all right. Good morning, board members. I'll be brief. I came this morning to speak on a different agenda item, but yesterday when I was reading the board agenda, I noticed that a friend and colleague had requested approval of a leave of absence, and that would be your item 5E, request approval of a leave of absence for Delesio Ford, Director of Off-Campus Instructional Site. And so I just wanted to speak briefly to Professor Ford and her request for a leave of absence. I had the opportunity to work with and be mentored by Professor Ford about 4 years ago when Chancellor Pierre recruited me. I was working as a clerk for Chief Justice Johnson at the time, recruited me to come and serve Southern University Law Center as a visiting professor of law. And I was so delighted at that time, and he said, look, I have someone I want to have work with you, Professor Ford. Now, Chancellor Pierre, John and I had worked together doing civil rights work for a pretty long time, and he knew my background as an undergraduate professor of political science. But he wanted to let me know, you know, now some of these law students can't eat you alive. I want to make sure that you are in pretty good shape. And Professor Ford was just outstanding. She came along and helped me in some of my classes when I was a little uncertain about writing law school exams and grading them. Professor Ford was right there no matter when I needed her and when I had a telephone call. She and I shared an interest in Henrietta Lacks. And I know that now she's going to be on leave to consider some curriculum integration with Henrietta Lacks and bring all of that knowledge back to Southern University Law Center. I don't know if any of you all had the opportunity to attend the symposium that she just had outstanding on Henrietta Lacks. And because I saw it on the agenda for no other reason, I wanted to just sing her praises and say you all have an outstanding professor and thought leader in Professor Ford. And thank you for the time this morning to share that.
Thank you very much, Council, for coming forward. We appreciate it. And by way of clarification, we're talking about Professor Alfred, right? You said Ford?
I said Alfred, and you. Thank you.
I got you.
Thank you so
We
much.
understand. I just wanted to make
I
sure.
get before Mike, no matter how much experience you have as a trial lawyer, sometimes you goof, right?
No. No. That's one of my grandchildren says, it's all good.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right.
If you're insinuating that I goof up sometime,
You do higher dollar goofs than I do, though.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your input. We're down now to action items, and we're at action items number 5. And we're looking specifically at action items 5A, B, C, and D, and committee. What is your pleasure?
I'll move to.
Mr. Reeves has moved for
Oh, sorry.
approval, so we can.
Yeah, I move to approve those, 5A, B, C, and D.
We have a motion to approve
Global.
action items 5A, B, and C. And did I get a second?
Excuse me.
We have a second. Go ahead. I do? Yes. That's what they're asking for. And I have a second from Ms. Dudley. Okay, action items 5A, B, C, and D have been moved for approval in global. Those in favor, please let it be known by sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay.
nay.
Hearing one nay. Madam Chair, Councilor. I'm asking for a motion here. I have one nay. Am I required to do a roll call? No, I'm not. Okay. Let the record show that indeed. Mr. Chairman, this motion passes with the vote of one dissenting vote. It is thus approved. We go to now action item, I believe it's 5C. And we go to, let's see, this is coming from the Law Center.
Yes.
Mr. Chancellor.
Yes.
Do you want to make comment?
Yes. Professor Alfred, who has been an outstanding faculty member, has gotten a wonderful opportunity to do some very, very important work with relations to the Henrietta Lacks story. For those of you who are not aware, Henrietta Lacks was an African-American woman that was basically used for experimentation by John Hopkins in the 50s. And her cells keep recreating. It's called HeLa cells. And they keep recreating, and they've been used in all kinds of medical discoveries. And the family was never compensated for what they did, which was not authorized. And Attorney Ben Crump took up that case and has settled with one of the big pharmaceuticals. And the reason he took up that case is because of an article written by Professor Alfred many years ago when she was at Florida A&M University. And she thought that the family of Henrietta Lacks should be compensated using the theory of unjust enrichment. And someone caught up with that and understood it and decided to use it. And she is really now going to be on a national tour with that and has requested an unpaid leave. And I said, I couldn't think of a better thing to do for you to do. And you will be promoting the name of Southern University Law Center everywhere you go. And I think she should be commended for that.
Thank you very much, Chancellor. This item is before us. Committee, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move that we pass items E, F, G, and H.
And H. We have a motion on the floor to pass action items 5E, F, G, and H. Do I get a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Ms. Covey that indeed these action items will thus be passed. Those in favor, please let me know by sign of aye. Opposed, nay. Hearing none. These items are thus approved. Item number 6 is other business. Would there be any other business coming?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I want to take this opportunity to recognize and congratulate Darren Dixon, who is going to be the new Director of Alumni Affairs. Darren, are you in the room? Will you stand?
Back.
Very good. We also have the national president of our Alumni Federation, Mr. Carlton Jones, here. And I also want to recognize 19th JDC Judge Tarvel Anthony Smith. Stand up, Judge. I want to say that, Mr. Dixon, you follow a rich history of directors in the Office of Alumni Affairs, and we have great expectations of you in this role. So we look to see much more of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And thanks for having all of these fine people with us today. Is there any other business to come before this committee? Hearing none, we move to item number 7, adjournment. And your pleasure. It has been moved by Ms. Feather that we be adjourned and seconded by Ms. Reed. The Personnel Committee is thus adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chairman Gilliam. It's now time to call on the Southern University Board of Supervisors meeting. I will read the mission statement of the Southern University system, and it reads, through shared governance, leadership, and a diverse system of unique institutions, the mission of the Southern University and A&M college system is to deliver affordable, world-class education, a trained workforce, state-of-the-art research, creative scholarship, and transformational public service to the state of Louisiana, the nation, and the world. That being said, roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir. Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Present.
Dr. Ronnie Whitfield.
Present.
Attorney Tony Clayton.
Here.
Mrs. Zell Dudley.
Present.
Mr. Raymond Fondell.
Here.
Mrs. Maple Gaines.
Here.
Mr. Sam Gilliam.
Present.
Mr. Paul Matthews.
Here.
Mrs. Christy Reeves.
Here.
Attorney Des Moines Rutledge.
Here.
Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Here.
Mrs. Ann A. Smith.
Present.
Dr. Leon Tarver II.
Here.
Reverend Dr. Samuel Tolbert. Dr. Orlando Williams. Mr. Jairon Young.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. And item number 3 is adoption of the agenda. I'm going to ask, prior to adoption, we look at it laying over item number 6F until next month. And I'll entertain a motion with that being considered.
Motion.
A motion by Board Member Matthews, probably second by Attorney Rutledge. Any discussion?
Yes. Item 6E, request approval of Second Amendment to Service Agreement with Advanced Biomedic LLC and to authorize the President and the Chairman approval to send any notices deemed necessary. Been my custom as a member of this board for 20 years that you run items that are germane to committees through that committee. I'm not impressed that this item seemed to have jumped over Legal Affairs Committee and straight to the board. Mr. Chairman, if you appoint me to chair the Legal Affairs Committee, I think legal affairs stuff should come through that committee. And for the president or whoever saw fit to jump over, bring it to the committee, and I don't need to be the chair of the committee if this is the way you're going to do business. I don't think it's properly done. Nobody, Mr. McQuarrie, I got to vote on your contract, but as the lawyer, you have been in conversations with me so that I can keep abreast with other board members about this advanced biomedic deal. And I guess in short, I want to know, in short, how in the world did it jump over me, my committee, and then go straight to the board for no input from legal affairs? Because the legal affairs had been involved in the discussion.
Counsel?
There was no intent to jump over legal affairs.
Why didn't it go through legal affairs? It's a contract.
It is, and it simply is just an amendment to the contract. It still requires the entire board approval to make the amendment.
But I just passed several amendments to contracts in the past. Why did this amendment jump over and the other ones made it through?
I don't have a good answer to
that. Who did this? Mr. President, who prepared this agenda and didn't put it on the legal affairs so that it can be vetted there the way it's normally done and jumped over there? I guess to shut Clayton up and just go straight to the board.
I will say that I asked that it be put on the board agenda. And the reason that I asked that it be put on the board agenda was because we have been having those conversations and I had been keeping you up to date on where we were with discussions with our Larry.
I don't know what's going on with advanced biomedics. Whatever is about to emanate today is what I'm going to find out, and why the secrecy of it. And I'll tell you, it's no secret. I'm not impressed with advanced biomedics. There were bills down in the legislature to take them, undo their contract with us and give it to the state. I have a whole lot of questions on advanced biomedics. And then to come today and see this to be finally approved, and y'all probably approve it, but you know what they put us through. And Mr. Dr. Mean, you also know, and Mr. President, you know, and I would like to know, have you been discussing matters with these folks, advanced biomedics, which you have every choice to do. But we ought to know what the conversations were about and what Southern will gain and what Southern would lose. And I think Legal Affairs Committee is the proper committee to vet those type of things, because I will ask the questions.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I'm curious.
I know we're adopting the agenda.
Yet?
Yeah, we're adopting the agenda, but he can come back and visit it still.
No.
But it's the question of whether to adopt it or not. That's the way I'm appreciating
Has
it.
the point of order been established? Because I will write it.
Yes, it is. So it's relative to us adopting the agenda. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Clayton.
I just don't think we follow proper protocol, and it doesn't pass the smell test. But if this is how we're going to operate, then I just don't know why we need a Legal Affairs Committee. It's just not proper the way it was done.
Okay. Any other comments on the adoption of the agenda?
Yes, I would like to comment relative to Mr. Clayton's comment. I don't discount what he's saying. I think it is interesting, those things that we decide to bring through committees as opposed to bringing them to the full board, and how we make those determinations. Like some contracts may go through individual committees, some contracts come to the full board. And if we're going to have that discussion, I think we should have that discussion relative to all committees and how we make determinations on those items that will, one, funnel through a committee and then come to the full board for adoption of the committee resolutions, or what's going to go through committees. And I don't know if that's a board bylaws issue, but it does seem to be kind of scattered.
That's where we're talking about
a committee and when we're going to come to the full board.
Mr. Chairman, relative to the adoption of the agenda regarding that issue of consistency, that seems as if that is a governance committee issue when it comes to policy. So that's where it should go to, so we can get some consistency, so we may not have this issue again, and not have any conflicts with adopting as it comes before the regular meeting.
Okay. I receive that, Dr. Tyra.
If I recall, history board, public friend, around a long time. When these critical issues arise, some are more critical than others. And in this particular instance, this has a far-reaching impact on enterprise. And so the tradition has really been that when we identify such issues, so that you get full participation on the board, as opposed to just limited participation, usually the decision is made to bring it for the entire board. I didn't see it as a slap face of whether it was governance or legal. And I just want to call that, get around all that. This is not a rare situation, but this issue does require full input of the entire board in the discussion now. So I thought your question was going to be to have such a discussion on this agenda item.
Well, let me respond to you, Mr. Dr. Torres. The chairman issued an edict that we thoroughly vet the contract with Advanced Biomedic. I had one or two conversations with the attorney so that I can abreast the board of what's going on. All of a sudden, that ceased and desist. And I haven't had a conversation with the attorney for quite some time so that I can bring it up, bring forth proper questions. It appears the president and whomever else started talking with Advanced Biomedics. That in and of itself is okay. But to expect this board to vote on something that he's had some type of clandestine meeting and I don't mean clandestine mean negative, but I mean just between them, the reason why you have legal affairs or any governance committee is for us to talk about the issues. So no, it's not an issue of me being misplaced with it. It's spot on because I was given specific instructions to keep you abreast. And I doubt that any of you know what's going on with this contract. You're probably about to vote on it and let it go, but I doubt that any of you have had any private conversations with the president and or Chancellor McMean about this contract, and we're about to vote on it. So it's to me it was personal, and it was a slap in the face to the committee and the protocol, and whomever did it knew what they were doing, and I'm just calling it out. I'm
Okay.
not going to vote against the adoption of the agenda, and so that's just my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, any other comments prior to the adoption of the agenda? Let me say what we can do, because all this is good. I really do think it is. One of the things I tried to do, and I think it's been done prior to this time, is give the board members enough time to see the agenda before it gets to this point. What's helpful to me, because I look at several items that could have been placed on the committee agenda. Not as serious as this item is. So it'll be helpful if in the future this item could be anything else relative to contracts, anything else relative to personnel matters that could go under the personnel agenda would be helpful to me, chairs. You let me know prior to the 24-hour period at least. I'd like to see that sent to my committee. I'll oblige. I would oblige. Whether it's legal, whether it's personnel, whether it's athletics, just let me know and I'll send it to that committee. This very well could have gone, maybe should have gone under legal, quite frankly. So we'll move on and learn as when things are suggested. If it goes to a committee that you'd rather it go to when it comes down from the administration, just let me know and we'll send it to a committee. I saw Board Member Smith and Vice Chairman.
Mr. Chair, in all due respect, I had not had any discussion at all with this, except for with Chancellor McMeans. And the reason we discussed it, I think I may have brought it up. I don't think you did. I brought it up because I know what we've gone through with the project that we've had. And so that's why I had a concern, but I also did not realize that all of this was taking place with the in-depthness of the marijuana project. So I'm gonna ask you, or ask this board, is there any way that we can have a discussion with this and then come back, even if we have to have a call meeting? And that's something we very seldom do.
I'm going to yield to the wisdom of our council on that one.
You're referring to the item E in a discussion on it?
Well, not necessarily, yes, at this point, but I was more specifically talking about the biomedic project itself. And I had not had any prior knowledge of any of this. This is the first time, other than Chancellor McMeans and our little brief conversation, I had not heard any of this. So I'm asking, is there a problem for this board for us to get an in-depth understanding of what's going on, and then we reconvene and make a decision?
For item E, there are some timing issues that we need for action today. And I will say this, as it relates to the Second Amendment and the extension, it's not an extension beyond adjusting the effective date back 4 months in order for us to finish discussions with Advanced Biomedics regarding a new contract. So what we're asking the board to approve is simply moving the date from, let's just say February 1 to May, such that buys us an additional 30 to 45 days to finish negotiation and discussion with Advanced Biomedics as to a new contract. And that's the only thing that this amendment is doing.
It really gives
And
more
we
time
are
to
still
deliberate.
in active discussions with them regarding the current contract, regarding other items as it relates to the program.
I see Vice Chair, Dr. Whitfield, Attorney Clayton next, Attorney Shorty after that. Did I see any other hands go up?
Mr. Chairman, I was going to move to call the question on the adoption of the agenda.
Okay.
But I'd like to make a point on Attorney Shorty.
Now, the challenge is going to be, if we're going to adhere to Robert Rules of Order, I got to stop discussion and address the call for the question.
Understood. Correct.
Okay. So the question has been called. Is there a vote on the call for the question? It's been moved, properly seconded by Board Member Matthews. Roll call on the call for the question. Mr. Secretary, roll call the board.
What are we voting on?
We're voting on the call to cease discussion, and then we'll address the vote on the agenda. We're going to come back and revisit it because we have to go through the agenda. So it's not going to go away. We're going to come back and revisit it. We're just saying let's adopt the agenda, essentially, to discuss it. Go ahead, Mr. Got to stop discussion. The question's called by rule of order. We got to stop discussion.
So if you vote yes, it is what? Vote no.
We're voting to vote for the adoption of the agenda. You're just ceasing discussion at this point. We're going to come back and discuss the item, but we just need to move to adopt the agenda. If that passes, the call for the question. Call. Go ahead.
Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Yes.
Dr. Ronnie Whitfield.
Yes.
Attorney Tony Clayton.
No.
Mr. Raymond Fondell Jr.
Yes.
Mrs. Maple Gaines.
Yes.
Mr. Sam Gilliam.
Yes.
Mr. Paul Matthews.
Yes.
Mrs. Christy Reeves.
Yes.
Attorney Des Moines Rutledge.
Yes.
Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Yes.
Mrs. Ann A. Smith.
Yes.
Dr. Leon Tarver II. Reverend Dr. Samuel Tolbert. Dr. Orlando Williams. Mr. Jairon Young. Motion carries.
Okay, so the motion carries to,
Let me ask you a question. Does the motion carry if it were not properly placed on the agenda? And then, to me, it has to be unanimous.
The chairman with the president sets the agenda, and it was placed timely onto the agenda. The committee meetings, while those also have agenda items as well, and they're set in the same fashion.
So I take it you read our bylaws, and the bylaws tells you that when issues must be voted on through the committees, and then once the committee passes it, it moves on to the board. So my question is a legal one. And you have to go back and look at the Constitution or the bylaws, and if it's not properly placed on the agenda, then does it need a unanimous vote to be adopted by the entire board? Or whatever you say, I want to park that.
It would only need a unanimous vote if it is
24
being
hours.
added to the agenda when it was not previously noticed to the agenda being published.
And so that's why, and I'm done with it after this last statement, that in my opinion is not properly before, so it's a new item and it needs unanimous vote. But you can move and guide yourself accordingly and let the board vote on it.
I believe the board has voted on it.
okay, now do we have to vote? I would imagine we have to vote for the adoption of the agenda. We just voted a call and the vote was adoption was already made. So the agenda has been adopted.
Correct.
As printed. Item number 4, public comments. I have a card by Attorney Tracy Washington to address item number 6, action item.
6.
It's a bit intimidating after such a spirited discussion. I'm here to address item number 6, and in particular, item number 6C, the request for approval to rename and restructure the Office of Equity and Inclusion in Title IX at Southern University's Law Center. It seems pretty innocuous when you look at it simply on the agenda. I will tell you just something simply about myself. I'm Tracy Washington. I've been an attorney. Believe it or not, I want you all to say, we don't believe it, Tracy, for 35 years. I just celebrated my 35th anniversary, just came back from the University of Texas at Austin, got a Distinguished Service Award from my classmates for 35 years of service as an attorney.
I'm here today because I was recruited by John Pierre to come to serve at the Law Center first as a visiting professor of law, and then, to my surprise but real satisfaction, as its first director of Title IX compliance and Title IX coordinator. If you look in your agenda packet, the consolidated position that our Associate Vice Chancellor will now be taking is, in fact, the job that I've been doing for the past 4 years or 3.5 years. But in fact, I began serving as a Title IX official in 1998 when I stood up the General Counsel Office for the Orleans Parish School Board. I did a little bit of math, and it's a little bit scary, but I have been doing Title IX work, y'all, for exactly twice as long as my 2 colleagues in the Equity, Inclusion, and Title IX office, although I'm sure I look only 25. I'm here today not because I have to plead for my position or plead for the gravitas about the gravitas that I brought to the position. I don't ever say Google me, but I'm Tracy Washington. I think I brought a little bit of gravitas in my reputation to Southern University's Law Center and to this position. I'm here today because, quite frankly, giving me, after all of this time in my service to the students, simply 1 month's notice in a telephone call about 48 hours ago while I was at the doctor's office that, hey, you might be on the agenda, just doesn't seem fair. When I stood up this Title IX office, the one assurance that I gave to the students and to faculty and staff was that my private cell would be on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One of the things that Carrie, my boss, said is that, look, we've had less Title IX complaints and reports in, the past several years since I've taken over this office. Well, the reason is because, quite frankly, the sparks don't turn into fires. Folks know that they can reach me at any time, day or night, with any sort of complaint. And I'm there with my mantra that I have for this office, which is space and grace. And whenever there's a complaint, Carrie says, you're more like an ombudsman. I'm there to try to put it out. I put it out so it doesn't show up on the litigation agenda for you all. I put it out because it ensures that these students complete what they're there to do, which is 3 years of schooling and then to get that law degree without a lot of mess, without a lot of mad day, most certainly without any hot grits. And I've heard those threats, let me tell you. And I've been real happy with it. I'm that person who shows up with pop-up food out of my kitchen. Shorty knows I'm a great cook. I'm the person who has never said to the Law Center, look, you need to pay for my travel. I got that. I'm the person who makes sure that day in and day out, that office is up to date on Title IX.
Attorney
And
Washington,
I have
if
one.
you could just kind of close because
Sure,
we're
I'm gonna
over
close.
3 minutes, and I'm respectfully
I have one
listening
more
to you,
sentence.
but take advantage of
Yeah.
one more sentence and maybe another one in addition to that. How's that?
I was closing it out with
Okay.
my closing statement.
Okay.
I'm here today to ask if there can be an amendment in a second, good Lord, that this position and consolidation does not take place on June 1st. I don't want to just be thrown on the street. Give an old gal a little bit of time to find something else. You brought me here, and I don't think anybody is saying you're leaving, because you're a bad employee. You're a doggone good employee, but give me a little bit of time to find something else. I've asked, I think I've texted a couple of folks, 6 months till November 1st. And I'll be out of your hair. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Attorney Washington. Thank you. Okay, I think that's all public comments. Item number 5, resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under condolences this morning, we have J. Rick Javoy Washington was a 2023 graduate of Jennings High School. He was a freshman at Southern University, Baton Rouge, where he started in January to study business administration. He was a sweet and loving child who put a smile on everyone's face. Everyone who met him loved him. He passed away on March 23rd, 2024. Donald Ray Watson Sr. was a proud graduate of McKinley Senior High School. After high school, he attended Southern University for 2 years. He was an avid and skilled golfer who organized numerous yearly golf tournaments and taught golfers known as First Tee. He passed away on March 25th, 2024. Reverend Colonel Joseph Martin Jr. received the Bachelor's of Arts degree in Political Science from Southern University at New Orleans. He was the pastor of Second Union Missionary Baptist Church in Alexandria, Louisiana, for almost 23 years. In July 2017, Pastor Martin was elected the president of the United Educational Missionary Baptist Association, Incorporated. In summer of 2023, he retired from the Rapides Parish School Board. He impacted the spiritual growth, unity of many people in central Louisiana. He passed away on March 26, 2024. Mr. Charlie B. Granger was a former American football offensive tackle in the National Football League for the Dallas Cowboys and St. Louis Cardinals. He played college football at Southern University. He was inducted into the Southwestern Athletic Conference Hall of Fame. In 2011, he was inducted into the Southern University Sports Hall of Fame. He was chairman of the Southern University Sports Hall of Fame for over 20 years. He was a loyal and dedicated Southernite. He was a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. He passed away on March 31st, 2024. Dr. Rose Duhan Sales was an administrator at several universities. She was dean of the College of Education at Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, academic vice president at Union Institute University in Cincinnati, Ohio, and vice chancellor at Southern University in New Orleans. She was a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She made many friends, professional contacts, and mentees. She passed away on April 8th, 2024. Mr. Richard H. Hawkins, age 76, was a resident of Shreveport, Louisiana. He was a former member of the Sussler family. He passed away on April 10th, 2024. We also have 2 commendations this morning. Archivist Angela Proctor was selected as the 2024 Association of College Research Libraries, Louisiana Chapter, Library Professionals of the Year. We are so proud of her work and dedication to preservation, digitization, and conservation of Southern University and the surrounding community's history. Former State Representative Randall Gaines of LaPlace, Louisiana, and a Southern University Law Center alum, was elected chair of the Louisiana Democratic Party on April 13th. Mr. Chairman, this concludes our condolences and commendations for this morning.
Thank you so much. We also want to make sure that resolution reflects that he's also a previous board member, Board Member Gaines. Board Member Fondale.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. These resolutions are so important. Over the last 30 days, I've had an opportunity to go and visit with 3 families who've lost loved ones. One of them was our Hall of Famer, Mr. Charlie Granger, who meant an awful lot to this system. This system has supported him, and I've been with him the last 8 to 9 years as he's welcomed numerous athletes into the Hall of Fame here for Southern University. And it's my belief from witnessing that it has created ambassadors throughout this nation. The goodwill that was created by doing that. So I wanted to be able to publicly recognize Mr. Charlie Granger, who's spoken to this board on numerous occasions, and I think many of you here are familiar with him and his wife for his efforts to support athletics and to support this system with his goodwill. Also, we lost two jewels in our system. A young lady whose services were going on at the same time. She was killed in an automobile accident in our community here. And also another gentleman that was shot from Southwest Louisiana. And I would ask at our next board meeting that we would recognize them posthumously with their families to give them their degrees that they were working toward here while at Southern University. And I'll ask that be presented at our next board meeting. Chancellor Pierre, if you would, please bring that to reality. I also want to recognize one of Southwest Louisiana's very own, Mr. Alan Vidal, for his efforts for becoming a finalist for the position of chancellor at McNeese State University. Many in our community were very proud of him being a graduate of LaGrange High School in Southwest Louisiana. So I wanted to recognize you publicly and have that put on the record from those folks from us at Southwest Louisiana, your efforts to lead the institution at McNeese State University. So with that being said, thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Fondale. Any other comments relative?
I have one more, and I apologize.
Go ahead.
I had an opportunity to go to the services for Miss Dr. Duhan Sells and had an opportunity to read the resolution that was presented to us by this board. The family wanted me to express their extreme gratitude for this board in recognizing their mother and recognizing her service to this university. So I wanted to be able to say that also and to thank this board for that resolution and her service of over 30 years to the Southern system. Thank you.
Thank you again, Board Member Fondale. You've heard the motion, properly seconded on resolution. Any other discussion? In favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Item number 6, action items. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of action items A, B, C, D, and G. I'm going to exclude E, just given the conversation that took place prior to the adoption of the agenda, such that everybody can leave feeling like they had an opportunity to be heard.
Sorry, we can't hear.
I'm sorry. I said I would move approval of action items A, B, C, D, and G. And I'm intentionally excluding action item E, given the discussions that have taken place.
F was laid over. I'm sorry.
Such that we will give everybody an opportunity to be heard. And we adopted the agenda absent item F. It's no longer on the agenda. That's my motion.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second to the motion? I see a question. Got a point of order. We'll stop discussion.
Motion itself.
Okay.
You mentioned A, B, C, D, and G. Made reference to leaving out E, and then made no mention of F.
Dr. Talbot, when we adopted the agenda, we adopted it minus item F.
That's not on there.
It's not.
Laid over until next month. Any other discussion on the motion? Has been moved by Attorney Clay, properly seconded by Board Member Matthews. Discussion. I was looking at you right there. Y'all look a little. Y'all don't even look alike. Board Member Attorney Des Moines Rutledge, properly seconded by Board Member Matthews. I only kind of smiled when I said that.
No, I was not impressed.
There you go on that. Discussion here, none.
That's not a surprise either.
Discussion. Okay, our discussion, Board Member Matthews.
Yes, going back to issues and recommendations regarding Personnel Committee, I just want to continue to highlight that this board is approving hires or promotions for positions that we did not have a chance to discuss at the retreat. I think the Governance Committee should continue to look at
the opportunity to raise the threshold of approval by the board regarding the administrative positions. I also would ask our attorneys if they could look into other universities and that are within the state of Louisiana and also other HBCUs. I'm sorry, I apologize. And other HBCUs and see what, comparatively speaking, they do. If you haven't already done it already, if you have, please comment. But I would ask that would be provided to the governance committee.
Okay. Thank you for that. We'll note it. Other discussion, Attorney Rutledge?
No.
Recognizing thingy. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 6E, request for approval for second amendment to the service agreement with Advanced Biomedics LLC to authorize the president and chairman to approve to sign any notices deemed necessary and appropriate.
Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to try to dispassionately frame for my colleagues what we're doing today with the assistance of counsel. As I appreciate it, what we are doing is procedural in nature and essentially gives us more time in the development of the term sheet with this particular vendor. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, sir.
And any term sheet that would include the substantive aspects of our arrangement would have to come back to the board and be approved.
Yes, sir.
Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
And so we're not giving up any substantive rights that are currently embedded in our agreement by way of voting on what I regard as a procedural move, as well as opposed to a substantive move in terms of what's in the term sheet and what the agreement is going to look like between us and them going forward.
Correct. In fact, this amendment gives us additional time to exercise the rights that are within the contract.
Now, as I also appreciate this, the legislation that has already passed the Senate and is now in the House that would impact this arrangement.
Correct.
There are some efforts underway to place some amendments on that would sort of make us whole. That's not currently in the litigation. Is this a correct and fair statement to say that if that legislation were to be enacted prior to this board's ability to confect an agreement with this vendor, it could impact our rights both substantively and procedurally going forward if there was nothing in place?
Yes. Okay. The legislation does have a provision in there that attempts to eliminate or dissolve the existing contracts, both with LSU and with Southern.
Yeah, which is why allowing you guys the decision to move forward as opposed to laying this over for a future board meeting is critical because we're under a time crunch to sort of get something done. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I understand that the bill that you're referring to would become effective on the governor's signature. Okay. So we are operating on two different fronts, so to speak, with trying to resolve and come to a more favorable, not a more favorable, but a better agreement for Southern that reflects where the program is currently situated than when we first started this 5 years ago. And we're working on that feverishly, but also at the same time, there is a bill in the legislature that could undermine some of these efforts. So we're hoping to get to the conclusion with ILERA and Advanced Biomedics in the next couple of weeks here before any further action on that House bill or Senate bill.
And based on council's responses, Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I would make the motion to approve the item.
Second. You know, there's something in the law.
Attorney Clayton was next.
There's something in the law called cross-examination. And that is, what I'm about to try to get to now. You see, I don't know if the board members knew that that was a bill that's a breath away from being put into effect that would totally eradicate this country. And time, unlike my colleague just tried to project over there, time does not inure to our benefit. It inures toward the marijuana company. It's been going on since February, and they've been bumping it with you time after time after time. Am I correct that you went to a mediation with them to try to settle this?
We have been.
That's a yes or no, Mr. DeQuill. Did you go to a mediation?
Yes.
Did they walk away from the table, or did they settle with you?
We have not finished. As I'm sure you're aware, some mediations do take place over multiple days.
So a mediation where if they're in good faith and they wanted to settle this deal, they have not finished because they keep delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. And they're denying us what we're entitled to. And then when my colleague to my right, forget his name, asked you about, is this a procedural move? Procedural moves means time, and it doesn't inure to us, because if this bill passes, which it looks like it will, then whatever contract we have with them existing now is not effect. There's no effect or efficacy to it.
I can't agree with that statement.
Well, let me ask you, would you agree with this? If you had a contract locked down with them now, and we don't, then they would have to adhere to that contract. So they keep bumping you until this thing passes. So why can't we just get it done? And if we can't enter into a contract with them, let's go get another marijuana company that will agree to pay us whatever we agree with, as opposed to dealing with these folks who, in my opinion, are behind the bill so that they won't have to deal with Southern. And you, Mr. President, lawyer, with all due respect, you allowed another amendment to delay it again. Look, let's put up or shut up. Why don't we vote them down or vote them up or vote for somebody else? But we keep delaying and delaying. And when the bill becomes in effect, then we're done. It goes to the state as to whether or not any contract or whatever they're going to issue to Southern. And I'm going to end with this. I don't understand for the life of me why you keep delaying it and having this board agree to delay it. For what? We've been to mediation, or it's not over with yet. They are extending it for a reason, Mr. DeQuill, because time is on their side if we keep bumping it and bumping it. Now, you can listen to my colleague over here, and board, you can bump it and bump it. Watch what's going to happen to you.
Okay. Attorney Shorty.
I move to call the question.
Okay.
It's an easy way to do it. Let's just do that.
Will you withdraw your call for the question? If not, I'm going to have to ignore it and address the call.
Of course, I would defer to Ms. Gaines.
I would like the legal department to send to me and possibly to all the other board members a concise or summary of the bill that is in the legislature. I do have it, and thank you, Corey, for sending it to me. And I started reading it, but I think that you probably could do a better job in just summarizing the bill, the effect that it will have, and anything that you think would help us to understand what is taking place in the legislature regarding this marijuana bill.
Sir.
Okay, I see Board Member Matthews.
Council, could you clarify the length of time of the extension?
The extension, it's not, what it's doing is it's moving the effective date of the agreement. Okay. So we're moving the effective date back approximately 60 days. And what this does is it allows us to reissue any notices that would be due for cancellation, termination of the contract. That allows us to continue to negotiate with ILERA without actually having to move to the next phase, which is a complete termination of the contract. The issue that I perceive is that if we have no contract with Advanced Biomedics, that puts us in a very precarious state in the passage of Senate Bill 228. If we have a contract with ILERA, as the passage of Senate Bill 228, that puts us in a different position that allows us to advance two fronts. One, we would pick up some additional money as it relates in the Senate Bill 228. And then there's also Article 1 Section 23 of the state constitution that protects current contracts that prevents the legislature from passing an ex post facto law.
That's why we are.
So we have a couple of avenues here.
Right, but and to that point, I appreciate it because you can appreciate the concern of that extension of the change of the effective date with the timeline of session and potential signing by the governor. So I just want to appreciate
I'm
that.
fully aware of it, and much like as we are here asking you guys for this, ILERA also has a board that it has to bring back its proposals to and seek approval.
Mike, can I follow up on my question?
After Board Member Gilliam, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, it appears as though this discussion has kind of evolved itself into two issues that lend themselves to a potential executive session. As I appreciate it, our bylaws specify when we're dealing with personnel matters or the teachers' matters, or potentially the teachers.
Threat of a lawsuit, yeah.
We're better served not in discussing a matter of this issue in open. I know some of you have to travel some distances, but every strategy that we might conceive here would be now exposed to the whole world. I understand we're pressed for time. We're in the middle of a legislative session that's going to end, I believe, close to the 1st of June. Got it. But it appears, Mr. Chair, just consideration, sir, that, lawyers, you know better than I do. I'm just an old common lay person. But commonsensically, it would appear that any stratagem that we might propose for this matter, we don't want to share for the world.
Call the question, Mr. Chairman.
I think we had a question. Maybe we'll draw until the question. Board Member Clayton and then Dr. Tyra.
Back in February, when I think the contract came to its expiration, did Alera, Advanced Biomedics, whatever you want to call it, did they breach their contract with Southern University? Did they do conduct that was tantamount to breaching the contract with Southern? That's a yes or no, then you can explain.
Well, I think only the judge can confirm whether.
Sir, you're the lawyer. Did you write a letter to Advance alleging 7 breaches of contract?
Now we might need executive session.
Well, I mean, you can't.
I don't know if we can say it in executive session. I just want to make sure we're clear on it.
I'm a board member. You can't tell me that's up to a judge. Did you write a letter to them saying they breached the contract on 7 different occasions?
There's correspondence to ILERA identifying some problems.
Try answering my question first. Did you write a letter to them putting forth where they breached the contract 6 or 7 instances?
We identified 6 or 7
Okay,
instances.
so if you identified where they breached the contract with us, Dr. Whitfield, then you want to expand it and give them more time to do what? So we won't have a contract in place. You said the state constitution said if we enter into a contract with them or any other agency, Madam Gaines, then they are obligated to do it. So if this board enters into a contract with someone else, they're obligated to fulfill that contract. But if Alera keeps delaying it, we don't have a contract with them and we don't have a contract with anyone else, and Southern lose. I'll offer a substitute motion if I can to table this for 2 weeks until we can sit down and talk so that we can bring it back through the proper legal affairs committee where it can be properly vetted, because there should be a bunch of questions out there. Why are we delaying something that we've alleged that they breached the contract? We went into mediation with them. They walked away from the table. Well, they've given us, why, guys?
Board Member Dr. Tyra.
I'm deeply disturbed of the fact that the letter reference concerning breaches never brought to the attention of the board. Did you ever forward, has anyone ever forwarded that to board members?
I think the board got it, didn't it?
Benefit of understanding the
I think the
climate
board
and
got it.
circumstances under which this contract has been negotiated. And yet we are voting on a very critical issue. Minus that, this is the first time I've heard of any breach of contract, which would be a great concern to me and would probably be to every board member here. Has anyone ever forwarded that to any of us?
I'm not aware if it's been transmitted to everybody.
So you've only sent to
It may have gone to the legal committee. I'm not sure.
It went to every member of the legal affairs committee.
Yeah, I know it went to the legal committee.
that disadvantages even the rest of us who are not members of the Legal Affairs Committee.
Then why the Legal Affairs Committee didn't follow up on it? Why didn't we have this before us?
Well, what we may need to do, listen to Board Member Smith. I'm feeling uncomfortable now. We're going into an arena. We may be exposing some of our strategists, quite frankly. I'm not the lawyer, but to me, if we're going to go here, we need to go to an executive session. If we can't do it today, if the board's willing, I'm going to have to call a meeting next week. Because right now, I think we're about to put, I hate to say what could happen because what we've said. I just want to make sure we're going to say it, let's say it such it wouldn't impair any strategies, the strategies that we're trying to take right now. But I do think the board should know as much as I know, and has always been my position. Board Member Shorty was next, and then Board Member Gaines.
Mr. Chairman, should we move to have executive session as of now while we are all here convened?
What is the position? Would we have to amend the agenda to go in executive session? It's certainly worthy of doing it because it's a legal matter.
It's on the agenda.
Okay.
It's already identified.
So, but the motion to go into executive session is not there. That's what I'm asking.
We can do, well, I'll second the motion.
Okay, you have a motion to go into executive session by, who was the motion made by? By Board Member Tarver, properly second by Board Member Gilliam. Discussion, roll call.
Point of order. I'll be questioned. Can you go into executive session when you didn't put the public on notice that we were going into executive session on this matter?
We did. It's identified on the agenda.
I'm talking about executive session. Did we give the public at least 10 days notice that we would go into executive session?
It's on the agenda.
on the agenda.
It was, there's a footnote at the bottom of the agenda on this.
That says executive session?
Yes, sir.
It may be required, is what it said. I'm asking if we have to make the motion. It said that it may be required. I know it's on the, I know the footnotes on there. I'm saying, do we need a motion? That's my question.
You do need a motion.
Okay. And we have the motion, we have the second. Now I've asked for a roll call. Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Yes.
Dr. Ronnie Whitfield.
No.
Attorney Tony Clayton.
Yes.
Mr. Zell Dudley.
Yes.
Mr. Raymond Fondell.
Yes.
Mrs. Maple Gaines.
Yes.
Mr. Sam Gilliam.
Yes.
Mr. Paul Matthews.
Yes.
Mrs. Christy Reeves.
Yes.
Attorney Des Moines Rutledge.
Yes.
Attorney Edwin Shorty.
No.
Mrs. Ann Smith.
Yes.
Dr. Leon Tarver II.
Yes.
Reverend Dr. Samuel Tolbert. Dr. Orlando Williams. Mr. Jaron Young. The yeses have it.
Okay, I apologize. We have to ask everyone to leave out of the room. Go ahead, question.
Does it have to be unanimous?
No, sir. It
No,
needs to be 2/3 of the members present.
Okay. No motions were made, no votes taken. Is there a motion to come out?
I move.
It's been properly moved by Vice Chairman Randy Whitfield, seconded by Board Member Attorney Rutledge. Discussion, roll call. Just look on the bottom of the sheet. Look on the bottom of the sheet.
You know who we are.
Go around the hush.
Last time I did it without the paper in front of me, I misspelled, I mispronounced names. And okay, here we go. Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Yes.
Dr. Ronnie Whitfield. Attorney Tony Clayton. Mrs. Zell Dudley.
Here.
Mr. Raymond Fondale Jr.
Yes.
Mrs. Maple Gaines.
Yes.
Mr. Sam Gilliam.
Yes.
Mr. Paul Matthews.
Yes.
Mrs. Christy Reeves. Attorney Des Moines Rutledge. Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Yes.
Mrs. Ann A. Smith.
Here.
Dr. Leon Tarver II. Reverend Dr. Samuel Tolbert. Dr. Orlando Williams. Mr. Jairon Young.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President, Secretary. We're on item 6C. The motion was made by Attorney Rutledge, and it was properly seconded by Attorney Shorty. Any other discussion on item 6E? Hearing none. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed?
Wait, I want to abstain, but abstain with a statement.
Okay.
So I abstain, but I want to compliment you, Mr. Chair. Although no decisions were made in executive session, it was a deliberate process back there. All of us engaged in colloquy, and I think what's in the best interest of this bill is coming forth because of the way we did it. Just want to commend you for doing that in the back, and I abstain, but I was.
Thank you, Chair of Academic Affairs and Athletics, and mainly the Legal Committee, because quite frankly, we need folk to speak truth to power, and there's a lot of power in things we deal with oftentimes. And so I've never discouraged people enjoying the right to speak. I encourage people to dissent when they feel it's a need to. So thank you, Board Member Clayton, for the kind words. And all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to item number 70. Other business needs to come before the Southern University Board of Supervisors. If not, I'll go to item number 8. Is there a motion? It's been moved, probably second. Have a great weekend, safe travel. Wait. Dr. Gant, thank you so much. Congratulations on your investiture. And let's give her a round of applause, and please extend to your wonderful campus. You all were simply remarkable, and everything we did and experienced was extraordinary. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Enjoy. That turned out good.